So, I mean, did it just sort of feel like they were hitting the ground running, or did you get the feeling that they were really sort of trying to play to a foreign audience and have a bit of fun with that? Was there any sort of moments of that kind where you felt they were connecting with the local crowd?
I mean, I felt I thought they were pretty much hitting the ground running.
Yeah, and so was there a sort of sense that they were, because I know that Haruna was doing she was talking in English in some of the shows as well, and she was talking to the crowds. Were they kind of having fun with that aspect as well?
Yeah, they were. I think they like I said, they did speak quite a bit of Japanese, or she spoke quite a bit of Japanese to the Toronto crowd, but also some in English. Because I think she recognized that there were some Japanese speakers in the audience, so she could kind of, obviously she felt more comfortable with that than the English.
Yeah.
She actually asked the New Yorker if we understood Japanese.
She actually asked if we can speak Japanese. But a funny thing was, like, she made some of her MCs like in Japanese, but then translated she said it like in English. So first the one in Japanese, then in English, and sometimes it was like after Japanese, like only 4 people said something, then the English one, and everybody like kept something like it. So, but the funny thing is that I understand some of the Japanese, so then I already I understand what. So it was a bit funny. There was also one where Rina said something like in Japanese, and Haruna said it like what she said like in English. So that was interesting. Also a bit of German in the German show. This was also interesting.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, it would be really interesting if they were, sort of trying something in every language of every place they went to. So trying a little bit of German in Germany would be really fun.
Yeah, pretty sure they've done this already in other shows so far in the last years. Was funny to hear German. A fun thing was also that she asked like Jose, right? Like if she is like good. But the fun thing is, of course, everybody knows this like Nihongo Jose. So the Japanese sometimes like say your Japanese is good, even though it's not really good, but they still say it. So it was a bit funny that she's like says Jose, like, so we chose her.
Yeah, that's that wonderful feeling you get when you talk in Japanese to a Japanese person. And, that you're talking about your Japanese, and they're Jose, and you're thinking, you mean I'm awful.
I know when they get around to Paris, Rina should be able to talk to the crowd because she actually speaks French.
Yeah, she speaks a bit French, right? I think she even studied in some school in Japan.
She was studying French because she loves Paris. That's the exact reason she said she was studying it.
Yeah, there is that kind of love for like Parisian French culture. Is a bit of a niche thing that is liked a lot in Japan as well. So it's interesting when you see things like that. But it's really nice to hear about them, like, therefore getting out there and connecting to foreign fans. So general feelings though, what was the show like? What was the atmosphere like? Any hotspots, anything that you can tell me, any interesting moments or best moments that you got from the show?
So in the song, I have to spoil the setlist now, in Prism, right? I think someone had like the idea, it's like a more common song, you probably all know, to use the phone and then use the lamp on the phone. And after I see like more and more people start, and I saw like I told me liked it, then I also activate my lamp on the phone. And but everyone would at least some people like done this and moved their hands with the phone. So this was quite a nice moment.
So they had everyone with the phone lights on, waving.
Maybe not everyone, but at least some. So this was cool, I think.
I guess that's the wise thing now, isn't it? Because you can't really use lighters in venues these days. I don't think they're a big fan if everyone was lighting up their lighters in venues anymore. You probably can't even bring a lighter into a venue now. I know, I haven't actually tried that. Probably get stopped at the door if you try to bring a lighter into a venue these days.
So Kamalni repeated what she did in New York by taking a stand camera on a phone up on stage in Germany.
That's actually, that's a really nice idea. I think that's something that bands should do more often. But as a general, in Japanese, like Japanese shows, a lot of the Japanese artists don't well, their management don't allow people to bring cameras into the venue, and this whole thing about no photography, no videoing in the venue. That's usually like a really strict thing that they do, which is amusing because the minute they say that, you just go in and there's like 10 minutes, nothing happens, and then just one phone pops up and another, and then suddenly everyone's got phones up out of nowhere. So yeah, even when they ban it, it tends to happen anyway. So there was no ban on phone cameras, I'm guessing, in the venue, or no ban on cameras?
What?
No, not last night.
Not last night. How do you feel about that? Because obviously, I know like you guys you've all been to a different range, but you've all been to like shows before. And I've got to admit, it sounds like such an old man thing to say, but I'm not a big fan of when you're in a show and you're looking at the stage and there's just like a sea of cameras in front of you because everyone's holding up their phone over their head.
But what I did is I held the phone just under eye level so I could see the screen and see the stage and wasn't blocking anyone else's view.
I think that's a wise thing to do. I think that's a wise approach, is to just sort of hold it at a level which is like, so basically if you hold it in front of your face, it's recording what you would otherwise be seeing. So I guess holding it above your head is, I still want to see, but I want people to see later and not you.
Yeah, yes, I have. Last night, for definite, there was plenty of people with holding their phones up, and a couple of weeks when I went to see Bright Ear, people were doing the same. And personally, I don't mind, but if they're blocking my view, then I kind of I do find it quite objectionable. So sometimes people will pop up with a phone, and then you sort of shuffle to one side so you can see around, and then they move it, or somebody else does it, and you're shuffling, so you're forever going kind of left and right and sort of trying to crane your neck a little bit. But I have to say, some of these smaller venues, I've done some kind of like gigs before, and I worked as a roadie many years ago, and some of those stages are really, really small. They're only like a foot or two off the kind of like the ground level where everyone's standing.
Yeah.
And although I was talking to Chris last night and was saying, I remember when we set up Brixton Academy, the stage there was about 12 foot high. It was massive. And although I did test that theory about how high it was by jumping off it and then instantly regretted it. I think I came close to breaking my legs jumping off there. So I think it's probably marginal, but I would say if you've got a band, then please raise them up a little bit. Although the Scandal ladies did stand on the little boxes or the monitors or whatever last night for a few times, which was good. Everyone got a good view. But yeah, I mean, phone's okay, but not in front of my face, please, because I want to see the show. I don't mind just like holding mine up and taking a quick snap. But yeah, there's plenty of people actually videoing the whole show, which I think is a bit objectionable. I think snaps is fine, but not the whole thing.
I agree with your sort of assessment that it's like a sort of a concert whack-a-mole where you move to one side and then someone raises another one up. Oh, I'm going to move to another side, and they're just sort of popping up and going down all over the place. It can be a bit difficult when you're in a very sort of very tight crowd and it's hard to move around. So yeah, I don't know. It's something that. I always sort of think that when I'm looking at videos that people record at the show, you see like the ones like Harry says where someone's clearly just held a camera up in front of them. You think that's fine, and you see some where it's just gliding above everyone's heads, and you think, oh, I don't know whether this was necessarily recorded in the most socially acceptable way, but that's fair enough. Oh, dear. So,
yeah, as you can see on some of my shots, I was actually filming between the arms of people who had their phones up above their heads. So I was filming right in the
taking advantage of the angle.
I think there was not too many phones, so it's not like you really see that everyone has like their phone in their hand. So like it was not a K-pop concert. So I mean, if you look some at this festival, like there were definitely more phones there than Scandal concert. So it was not like everyone all the time had like the phones in their hand. So I think it was moderate. So I thought it was less people use like really their phones than I thought. But I can of course understand why people want to do it, right? They know the show, there won't be like an archive, there's no professional filming of it. They want to make like memories of it, right? And maybe if you go to the concert, maybe you dislike filming, but you kinda also maybe want like maybe watch like 1 or 2 songs of the show like after again, but yeah, this is like, but you also don't want like a camera in front of you, but it is what it is, I would say. So
Yeah,
I think it is okay. So
I get that.
I mean, it was not too much, so it's probably not possible to disallow this because people will do it anyways, right? I remember, I think when Argent Comfort Generation was in Paris in 2019, before COVID, right, in November.
Yeah.
I think in Paris it was not allowed to film, but in London it was, and someone still filmed it like in Paris something, and the other commemoration singer like reposted it even though it was not allowed. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never.
I think that would be really embarrassing if you went to a show, you filmed your favorite artist, and then they called you out on social media by going, "You shouldn't have done this."
Probably not. Probably does not care like Sony would do. So
Oh, yes.
usually the artists are on the fan side, right? Not on the
Usually,
David side.
usually, you have to check that
Yeah,
with them first.
not the one band, right?